Where are you, Martin?
I'm in King's Cross in London. Yeah, it's my studio, and it's not my home. It's my studio. It's like an old style studio, where there's no windows, there's no clocks. It's a beautiful control room. It's perfect acoustics. When I'm in here, I'm in a completely alternate reality. There could be a nuclear war going on out there. Probably wouldn't know about it. So yeah, you need that shit. I think I do anyway. Yeah.
Be safe in the case of a nuclear war in there.
Sorry.
Is it a bunker? Would it be safe?
Well, it'd be quite a version of a nuclear war. You know what I mean? Anyway, yes, as I was saying, I'm an enormous fan. So this is, isn't it weird? I mean, obviously, I'm from Sheffield originally, and I moved. When did you move to Sheffield originally?
I moved to Sheffield, I think 1990.
Right.
Maybe
I moved down to London in 81. So when you were kicking off and all the fantastic success you had and Moloko and all that stuff, funnily enough, Heaven 17, Moloko, both came from Clockwork Orange, right? Yeah. That's right. I was
going... At the time, we were like, that's so...
Yeah. We need to... I thought I need to move back to Sheffield when all that shit started happening in Sheffield, because it seemed like such a vibrant scene at the time, and I was, because I'm from the nightclub kind of side of things. I mean, I used to go to Northern Soul nights all over the north of England, but they used to have one on Queen's Road at the Queen's Road ice rink, and I used to go down there. And we used to go to the Penthouse and to Penny's and all the really old stuff when you were about 2, and we grew up with all that. That was our escape,
Well, I've been reading a little bit about that time in Sheffield, about sort of the repercussions of Roxy music on top of the pops.
That's right.
And the bravery of you lads, the way that you had to kind of... Because I know even in Sheffield in the 90s, walking around in your sister's blouse with a pair of, high boots on and some bits of eyelashes and that, some stars on your face. It's probably quite a dangerous pastime, really. And so I really admire that, I got very interested in that, studied it a little bit, that whole era, and also the kind of connection between the glam rock look era and wrestling, coming out of 70s
Street
class places, Yeah, Adrian Street, amazing.
Have you seen? There's a documentary out about him, just come out.
Oh, has it? Yeah.
You heard it. It's amazing. I went to see Adrian Street at the Sheffield City Hall, and it's mental. And it was like, obviously it's like panto, but the weird thing is, growing up with glam at that point, it wasn't anything to do with sexual politics at all. And there wasn't really any homophobia particularly. So, I mean, if you look at people like, bands like Sweet or Mud on top of the pop, they look like plumbers, right? With makeup and glitter. So... And with the clubs we went to, they all had, they were like miners from Barnsley, with eyeliner on, and it was just people messing about. It didn't have the weight it has now. That's what I'm saying. And but
politics.
Yeah, Sheffield's always been a dressy up city, I think. What do you think? At the weekend,
Yeah, I think, they make their own fun, don't they, Jeff? They make their own scene. And I think it's very much I noticed immediately when I moved to Sheffield, this DIY, get out and do it yourself. That, I was obsessed with music when I lived in Manchester, and my life revolved around music, although I wasn't making music and hadn't dreamt to make music until I went to Sheffield. And I realised everyone was doing it. Everyone was involved in it. everyone I met, they were either running labels or they were running nightclubs, club nights, making records. You know, Designers Republic was up and running very strongly at the time, Warp Records. And this was all sort of done in this kind of real Sheffield, get up and go spirit of, you know, just do it ourselves, you know. And coming out of Fawn as well, having been built, you know, we had a very DIY attitude. You know, we won't go to London and spend a fortune. We'll build here, you know, and a lot came from that, for me. But yeah, and I also thought recently come around to thinking that perhaps there's a pride in Sheffield, that there was a specific kind of, because they're makers, because it made steel. You know, it ran the world. You know, they had this pride, like, if we stopped, if we're bombed, the whole world stops, you know? And there was this sort of still that pride in Sheffield when I arrived there in the 90s. And I think it's still there now. And some good things were done, you know, in terms of the way the local council and government there have supported the arts, I think.
Well, did you read about how I met Glenn and all my friends, really, who I'm still friends with, was through a council-run initiative at the Holly building round the back of the City Hall. It's apartments now, but it's an old Victorian school building. And they just gave it to a couple of actors, Chris and Veronica Wilkinson, who took it on as an arts kind of, a kind of hippie arts thing. Ostensibly about drama, but it turned into like people. We had pretend bands, you know, for years that we only played to the 40 or so people that were in there. So it was like a kind of seasoning the wok before you got around to cooking kind of thing. We never had any intention of being professional musicians ever. We always did it for fun for years and years and years, and art.
Yes, yeah, and I think that's where I'm coming from too, and I think that's very much somewhere that you feel in the zone in Sheffield, you know.
Oh,
in that easily.
I'm missing my hometown.
This is bofty about Sheffield, don't we? Yeah. Still, it's quite hard to get mayonnaise on your sandwich. No love, salad cream.
Salad cream, love. Yeah.
Oh God, they look at you like.
Where are you now? Where are you now?
Right now, I'm in Ibiza.
You're in Ibiza. Look at you.
We arrived in December for Christmas. Because Sebi's my partner.
Yeah.
He has had this house for over 20 years. So we spend a lot of time here. So we came for Christmas and we didn't go back. We're contemplating never going back, actually.
Don't go back. Don't do it. I had a place in Venice in Italy for nearly 30 years, and I had to sell it to pay school fees and stuff. And then I sold it about 5-6 years ago. But I'm selling my big house in London, downsizing, literally at this moment in time. And I'm going to buy a lovely place in Venice. That's going to be my main base, and then I'll just rent somewhere in London. Venice is incredible. I mean,
what brought you to Venice? What?
I went on honeymoon on my first marriage. Just fell in love immediately. I mean, it was like literally immediately. It was the second. We went on the Orient Express and arrived right in the centre of Venice. I mean, you've been to Venice, obviously, and have you performed there? No.
No, actually, I haven't performed in Venice. Maybe just outside, but no, I didn't do anything inside.
Anyway, it's where my heart is, and Italy in general, I love. You know, so
I go wrong visually.
Yeah, I mean, sorry,
I did some Italian music. Did you ever hear my Italian music?
Yes, I've been listening to it this morning. Yeah,
because I'm in love with an Italian. He's a music producer.
Which part of Italy is he from?
He's from Milan.
Ah, Milano. Ah, benissimo. Good. Moving on. I'm curious because, right, here's the thing. When I was looking into Ancestry.com, I knew I got some Irish ancestry, but I didn't know how much. It turns out I've got 2 Irish grandmothers. So I'm 38% Irish.
Stop bragging, but just go on.
The funny thing is, I married an Irish woman. My
Yes.
second marriage, who's from County Armagh, and she's less percent Irish than I am. She's more Scottish. Anyway, so the great thing is I've got an Irish passport now.
Great.
Which is really great. It's fantastic. And it makes such a difference to my business, my soundscape business as well. And, I can escape, thank God, from Plague Island. But what I want to know is, because I'm fascinated with Ireland, I've spent a lot of time in Ireland. I've been round most of the coastline. And you're from Wicklow, right?
County Wicklow. Yeah.
County Wicklow. That's right. Arklow, it says here. Arklow. And tell me about growing up in Ireland, because the contrast between that, I know rural Ireland pretty well. It's about as different as you can get to Sheffield or London or Ibiza.
Well, I'm not from rural Ireland.
You're not?
Arklow is a town not too far from Dublin, really.
Yeah, I knew it was near Dublin. Oh, right. I misread it.
Being brought up in a seaside town,
right,
and then being a rural upbringing.
Right.
With all the kind of wildness that might be associated with that too. My parents would have been quite modern in their outlook.
Yeah.
Very modern in their and there was a lot of partying going on in Arklow in the 70s. Arklow nearly had full employment.
Right.
And famous for the 4 week. They were famous for the 4-day weekend.
Oh, right.
Finished on Monday night. So no, I definitely wasn't brought up in a rural way, although that was all around. And as soon as you left the town, you were in that situation. And I knew people who lived in the country, though we didn't know that many people who lived in countryside.
Right. So I don't know where I got that information from. I thought I'd read it. Anyway, it's not on Wikipedia. I'm just stupid.
Arklow is a town, really, and townspeople definitely consider themselves different to culchies.
Right.
Ireland.
What's that word?
Culchies.
What does that mean?
From the country.
Oh, right. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. So you're on the coast in Ireland, and you decided to move to... I mean, your parents had a tough divorce, it says here, by the sound of it.
My parents, we all moved as a family to Manchester when I was 12. Yeah. Right. And then they broke up when I was 15 in Manchester. Actually, the whole move was pretty disastrous for them. But for me, it was great.
Oh.
I mean, I ended up staying in Manchester, and they sort of dissipated, my family, from Manchester at that time. My mother went off to lick her wounds in Ireland, and my dad went off about his business, having his midlife crisis, and I stayed in Manchester, and I was taken care of. Going back to what we were saying, about being cared for by the state in some way. I was cared for by them. They paid for a little flat for me. I had money coming in every week.
Can you imagine this now?
Jesus. I was free, and I wouldn't wish for more than that for my children, to be honest. To know that there was, no matter what happened, there's something, if there's got a bit of strength in them, that there was something to catch them, that would be great. But there isn't really, like there was then.
You're absolutely correct. And that's another good reason for having being part of Europe and having a European passport is, I'll keep thinking, look, I'm 64, right? If I fall into ill health, I'm better off in Ireland or in Italy or any part of the EU.
No, I don't think you're better in Ireland. No. The health service is in crisis in Ireland. Crisis. Dreadful.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, they're getting out stink over there about it. So also, you're going to get your vaccine? What's going on there?
I've had it. Have you had yours?
Yeah. Them? Have you had both of them?
No. Just the first of the Pfizers. Yeah. Yeah. And my wife's had the AstraZeneca. She got quite unwell for a few days actually after that. Yeah. I was absolutely fine. So those little micro robots are going around my body, programming all the RNAs. Yeah.
Reprogramming, setting it all in.
Yeah, and they're all tagging me, and I don't give a fuck, frankly. Oh, by the way, I encourage swearing on this. I think it adds a bit of flavour. So anyway, growing up in Ireland. So
yeah,
when you started, I mean, would you say you emerged from the with Moloko? Would you say you emerged from the club scene? Really, I suppose.
In fact, absolutely, yeah. That's where I met Bryden, Mark, who I started Moloko with. Was out on a clubbing scene. Winston was DJing, as you probably know Winston.
I know Winston, yeah.
And it was really sort of
the legend
of that 90s moment there. And that was where I came from. I mean, I was going out dancing. And since I was 15 in Manchester, the clubs all over. It's mad for it.
Which Sheffield club did he go to at that time?
We did go to many clubs at that time. It really moved out of clubs and became like parties. There was a place.
All right.
Had like a loft place. And then there was a place under a Italian restaurant that was a cellar. We had parties in caves. We had parties in barns, houses everywhere. But there was a couple of places where we had regular parties. One was this loft place, belonged to some friends of ours, and the other was this under this restaurant. It was like a cellar.
All right, that's good though.
But where I met everyone was at the Palais. I met everybody at the Palais. The Palais was this, as you know, this big old cinema that had been converted into a big ballroom type discotheque.
Right.
And most of the time we spent upstairs there at the funky room.
Right.
And there was a lot of jazz dancing and a lot of really good music played.
Yeah. Is that that's in Sheffield, right? So is that on Aberdale Road? Is that the
Palais? Was it called a Scala when you were there or something?
Oh, I don't know. They kept changing name all this place. Not the Isoldo or anything. No, the old Isoldo. Where was it? Which road was it on? Can you remember?
London Road.
London Road. Oh, yeah, it's the old Isoldo. Is it the one with the kind of circular tower entrance?
Yeah, it's like white stucco.
Yeah. I know where that is. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, because I used to go. God, that was a tea dance place back in the day. Yeah.
Well, tea dance. Been reading about them as well.
I'm not that old. Come on, give me a break.
Gay either.
I would have liked a tea dance personally. I think it sounds quite fun.
I love to dance on a Sunday day. It's just magic to a Sunday day dance,
Yes, I can relate to that. So then, were you surprised by the success of Moloko?
Well, we worked hard enough for it, and I don't think we ever felt that successful, really.
Really?
When we had the hit with Sing It Back, it was a remix. So there was a sort of dissonance there anyway. It was a little bit like, how are we going to follow that? Is it even us? It seemed to be a entity outside of us had a life of its own. I mean, anyway, pop songs do, when you have one or two great songs for your career, they go off and they have their own lives and everything. You don't necessarily feel that connected to them anyway, even if they're not remixes after a certain point.
Yeah.
Or it's very bemusing to an artist to try and work out why something's successful, something else isn't, and things like that. The artist isn't the best person to ask in that case. And we sort of felt a bit like, I think we ever felt we really broke through, so we never felt famous or.
Yeah, but you you were very credible. I mean, I just remember thinking, God, these guys are so cool, and the sound of it, and and your performance, and the way you looked, and it just seems so authentic, authentic and on point, and interesting, because it wasn't just a matter of performance for you. You've got a great fashion sense. You're a unique. Your character comes through your fashion sense, and the way that your makeup and your entire presentation is kind of pre Lady Gaga, for instance, in a similar kind of vein, I think. Yeah. What do you think about Lady Gaga? As a matter of interest.
Don't really think that much about sort of very high-end, polished pop.
Right.
It's not what I listen to, so it's my kids and things. Well, I do listen to a massive selection of different types of music. Yeah. I've not listened to dance music, and I've been a bit sick of dance music this year. It's not seemed right, and I still don't feel like, we've got a remix album coming, Crooked Machine, and we have to decide on a remix. It's wonderful, it's sublime, it's amazing remix album. I think it's my favourite remix album I've ever heard, even though it's myself. I can say that. But we have to choose the lead remix of it, and the label were like, oh, this one, because people, it's a bit more pumping and people are really ready to let loose and stuff. And I'm like, I'm not ready to let loose. I'm not ready to say, it's a big banging tune, we're all going back to normal.
Yeah.
So I've gone for a remix of Simulation, which is just a sublime piece of music. It's just like I said to the A&R, I said, well, I tried to understand what you were saying. I listened to that other remix, and it's really good. It's what people like from Parrot. It's going right through, it's just straight through. No messing. I said, but, I listened to the other one, and I felt like I'd been under a waterfall for 7 minutes, I really felt clean afterwards. And it might not be as banging, but I think that's what the world needs now. What the world needs.
Okay.
Is a waterfall of, being cleaned and starting again, and start from small and build out again, Go like, right, I'm ready for like 5,000 people in a field banging it off.
Yeah. You're not ready.
I'm not ready. Yeah. People aren't ready.
It's different though when you're you're in a lovely place, right? Which is pretty chilled, presumably. Yeah. When you're living in a tower block in the centre of London, I'm certain it's not like that. And certain people are like caged animals.
I know, but did they like to go from that to 5,000 caged animals? Like,
I don't think people think
it's got. I'm talking about music and our scene, like.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
I think we took pause for a minute and just went, okay. There's all sorts of tempos in dance music. There's all sorts of feelings. There's all sorts of stories it can tell. Yeah. And it was getting a bit samey, for a long time. So I have a nice back a little bit.
I love Roisin Machine. I think it's definitely your best work, in my opinion. I listen to it. Yeah, I listen to it all the time. I mean, I'm not just saying it because you're on this podcast. I genuinely do. Now, you can go and check the other podcasts. I've not said this to any of the other artists. I think it's a really integrated part of... It's an integrated piece of work, and you should be very proud of it.
Well, I mean, out of any producer that I work with, and usually I'll go in, I'll be very much involved in the sequencing and stuff. But he did it before I even had a chance to get involved with the sequencing. It's like, are we doing the sequencing? It's done. Okay. Have a listen. I was really nervous. I thought, I don't like it. It's going to be a whole like. And then I just thought it was perfect. Absolutely perfect. Obviously had a vision.
Yeah.
In that moment for the whole thing as a one statement in an album, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
very, very much is an album, and that's why it hasn't sort of had any problems being put out in this year, because it really deliberately was made as an album. This is not the part that this is not for dancing to. This is an album in the way that it is landscaped together.
Love it.
15 minutes and so on. The remixes, the suites of remixes that he makes, that they all go into these different rooms that you go and dance in, you know. But the album is an album, such an album.
Yeah,
it really had a for the whole thing as a story. So genius, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you? Oh yeah, the films that you made to go with the album are just brilliant. It's like some, I don't know. It's like being inside your head somehow. It's like you are so lost in the music a lot of the time. I loved that. But like then you're moving around and you're doing various in different locations. I mean, it's mesmeric.
There's been Toya Wilcox that have saved this lockdown.
Well, to be more specific, it's her breasts that have saved the lockdown.
Really, the breasts. But she has been marvelous, hasn't she?
She has. Yeah. Do you know? Have you met Robert?
No, I haven't. I'd love to.
He's such a lovely, down-to-earth guy. You know, he's like, he's my favorite guitarist, bar none. He had the biggest influence on me in terms of regarding, he stopped me turning my back as a producer on guitars. Because everything that he did with texture and guitar, I've loved, and sounded just as futuristic as any synthesizer to me or electronic music thing you could do. And when he talked to him, he's got like this West Country accent, as you know from the videos. All right, Martin, you know, and it's like really gentle. And he used to turn up at the 80s, like rewind gigs and stuff like that we'd do with Toya. He's not performing, just as a husband. And he'd be wandering around in like a kind of dirty Mac. Like nobody but me and a couple of other artists knew who he was. He's just wandering around like an old bloke. And he's like, is it naturally? Is it that God?
Apparently she knows how to keep her marriage fresh.
I think that's probably true. Let me just have a wild guess. Yeah.
We've got a lot in common, mate.
Yeah. She's a lovely person, actually, Toya. And I love her resilience, that's the word. I mean, you know, she's a real showbiz trier, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, she's a trooper. I'm not a massive fan of her voice, but she can perform the shit out of anything, you know? And that's
much pops back in the day, the other day, and she went out in the audience and she's strutting like this.
Yeah.
Tomahawk, you know. Brilliant. Scaring the living daylights out of all them little rah-rah skirts dancing in the audience.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, yeah. I love, I've got a lot of time for Carol Decker as well, actually. Even it's a different thing entirely, but she's the same kind of person. And she can fucking sing, let me tell you. Live. She's amazing. I'm
a trooper too. You know.
You're 1,000%. You're a Starship Trooper, right? No, you are definitely a trooper. And but you know, it's because you take the path less trodden, which is why I've got such admiration for your artistry. You know, I've just got a couple of things that I wrote down that somebody said. Hold on. A couple of quotes from the press. It said, "The adolescent century's true art pop queen." I like that. I don't know what he means, but I like it.
Yeah.
The adolescent century. Okay.
Well, there's a fella called Martin Fisher, I think.
Yeah.
Right. Brilliant writer. He wrote about a Moloko gig which I found in his book, actually. I didn't even know he'd ever done it. And I was reading the book and this review comes up, and he puts me down as the sort of last in the long line of the glam rock.
Yes,
So
I can see that.
it's the last one. It's literally like, that's the dying breed there, now it's gone.
So do you design your own outfits? Do you have a stylist, or what do you do? Because you've got so many amazing outfits, you know.
You usually have a stylist, honestly.
Oh.
When I do what they're told.
Oh, I'm so sad. I thought there was going to be like huge numbers of fitted wardrobes full of glitter.
Oh no, there are an unbelievable amount of wardrobes that even come on tour with me. Like I have like 75 suitcases that come on tour with me. I have a guy that works with me called Simon Phillips. Big up Simon Phillips, and he was a crew guy for years, and now he's my crew, which means he's wardrobe basically.
Right.
But he's not what you expect. So when he turns up, people are expecting somebody to come in and be like,
yeah,
you know,
Gok Wan. Yeah.
I've got Russian stuff. You know, just move out of the way.
She's so fierce.
Yeah. You know, he comes in his hair and he's a real roadie, and he's one of my very closest friends in the whole world. And I had tried having the real thing, you know, having wardrobe people, but they're not strong enough for what I put them through. They are not able for it.
What
our kind of touring?
Yeah, what do you put them through?
Kind of wardrobe usually goes with a different kind of touring.
Right.
My kind of wardrobe usually goes with, I don't know, Shirley Bassey on
Yeah.
But so, we are still, you know, the Slits in some countries. So it's kind of like, there's a bit of you need someone really powerful, strong, muscly, and who loves you to look after all that shit, because they have to run around in the dark while I'm throwing it off into God knows where, performing.
Yeah.
And jumping into the audience and saving me from killing myself doing that. And, you know, and then he's good at skinning up as well. So
I've never been to one of your shows, and I'm desperate to go. When are you performing again? Do you know?
I would say September is the likely spot.
Yeah,
we'll be in London in the autumn.
Oh, can I come to your show?
We'll have to see what we can do.
I'll do you a swap for one of our shows. Okay. Another one was Ireland's Queen of the Avant-Garde. Do you think you're avant-garde?
Yeah, I think I probably am a bit avant-garde, you know.
That's nice.
If you're a bit avant-garde, can you be a bit avant-garde, I suppose? Yeah. You either are or you aren't. But yeah, I think I probably am.
Yeah, good. Say loud and proud.
I really prioritise the music.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that, you know. I don't believe I would survive without making really good music. First of all, even if it was just on a very mercenary level of work. You know, I don't believe I can make rubbish music and get away with it. That's it. Simple. But then also, I really do think that the whole magic of being an artist should be about sort of being lost in the art, you know. And
totally agree.
Best way to live.
Yes. Yeah. Also, now we're in a world where, well, since the advent of the internet, which obviously wasn't around in the 80s, everything is there forever for everybody to see. So if you ever do anything that's even 10% shit, it's gonna have a negative impact on your legacy. You can't afford to be doing that shit anymore.
To annoy you at least the rest of your life. So
yeah,
and you do think that way, you know, even though, you know, it's not gazillions of people seeing it straight away. It might be in the long term. So we did on that basis, on the basis of I've got to live with it forever.
Yeah. We did a whole bunch of European promo TVs back in the 80s, which we were 1,000% certain no one was ever going to see again. Or that we would ever see them transmitted even. We'd never even see one of them back. and they've all emerged now, and it's most of them are all right. Some of them are really embarrassing. We did an Italian TV election night. And we were meant to go on. This is Italian sphere, right? We were meant to go on at 8 p.m. We ended up going on at 3 a.m. And by that time we were bored and a bit pissed, to be fair. And they came running towards us. We were half asleep and half pissed. The director came running up to us saying, "You're on in a minute." I'm going, "What?" No, Ian was in the toilet, right? So it's like there's me and Glenn on stage. There was only 4 of us anyway. And it's like, oh, we're just going to toss this off. They are taking the piss. Nobody's watching it this time in the morning anyway, you know. And that's emerged, you know, and it's like, oh God, no. And like Ian's wandering to his keyboard halfway through the track, you know, stuff like that.
That's all in context. That's great that it exists, you know.
How do you both then?
As the years go by, the whole thing becomes a bigger and bigger story, doesn't it?
That's right. We're all in the world of creating narrative for future generations. That's the way I view it. And anyway, so back to the plot. Back to the plot. So we're looking at, you know, I mean, you did loads of stuff, didn't you, with Fon Studios, and then you went to.
My first album, Matthew Herbert, my first solo album.
Herbert. I know Matthew. Yeah, he's a good lad.
It was just an incredible experience, Martin, because obviously I'd been in this band with my boyfriend all these years. Ostensibly, it was really just me and him that ran thing. And then I was worried that I'd made the wrong sort of decision in becoming a musician when that all came to mind. Right. Yeah. I was concerned that perhaps I should have just gone with my heart, which was a visual artist, which is what I thought I was going to be if you'd asked me when I was 7 years old. And then I wouldn't have gone when I was 7. I want to be a visual artist. No, I would have said, I want to do art. I want to do art. And so, yeah, but then I had met Matthew before, but then I started to work with Matthew and realised what his process was, which was mind-blowing. I don't know if you know what he does. He's not into it kind of presets. So all his music is made with sampler.
Right.
And sound that he creates. So the first day he said to me, bring something in that means something to you. And I thought this was just some kind of icebreaker or something to start a conversation. So I actually brought an article about Brian Eno putting a clock in a rock face for 700 years or something. It was about long, stretching time a bit, because everything accelerating so fast and blah. So I got this out thinking I was being really intellectual because I didn't know anything about him, but I knew he was for intellectual.
Yeah.
And he goes, "That's great, Rose. Should we just go into the vocal booth now and bash it across the microphone?" So I did, and then rustled it about and made some noise in there. And I come back out, and he had the most amazing rhythm track going. Then notes out of it, and then a little melody, and then before we knew where we were, we had something that had this incredibly strong jazz structure, song structure, but was made out of these elements. And so that's why his music sounded, at the time, a lot of people are doing it now, but at the time, when he first came out, his music didn't sound like anybody else's music.
Yeah.
And somehow it comes from some sort of kind of like cold, methodical. Some people feel like, oh, it's a bit cold and methodical to sit down and say, okay, here's my dogma. I don't do this. I only do that. But the only doing that, you know, encompasses everything. That's his point. You know, we can do everything with Found Sound now and create completely unique moments, synthesizer parts that are made up of total unique moments in the studio rather than something that's been pre-programmed in the factory for you.
Completely agree. Yeah, go on, carry on.
what he did. But the thing is, a lot of people kind of like, oh no, you're not supposed to be like that about music and stuff. It's for intellectual, but it sounds good. It sounds totally different, and that's the raw energy of pop music. Is when you hear something. We don't often hear this anymore because actually, even though things have accelerated, somehow music doesn't seem to be on the same trajectory. When you hear something new, raw, with a totally new energy, to use the technology in a new way, that's pop music.
Yeah, I agree completely. Well, obviously, I would agree. I mean, when we started with the Human League, every single element of what we did, we created from scratch. Of course, there were no samplers around. But then going further back than that, I've become friends with David Vorhaus from a band called White Noise from the 70s. And he was part of the BBC Radiophonic Workshop with Delia Derbyshire. So this has all evolved, Matthew's stuff has all kind of evolved from that kind of tape manipulation scene, which goes further back, to Edgar Varese, really, and stuff like that. I love it all. But, for instance, the first single that this band White Noise put out was... have you ever heard that album? It's called Electric Storm. If you haven't, you need to listen to it. Honestly, it's amazing. The first track, I said, how did he get all those sounds and all that those incredible textures? And, he said, there isn't a single synthesizer on that track. It's all individual notes recorded and then copied onto another machine, sped up, slowed down. It's like an early sampler, really. He said on this particular track, which sounds like a kind of Martian pop track, there are 900 edits.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that's why you got to listen to it. It's incredible. It's like seminal. So it's called, it's called Electric Storm by White Noise. And it's kind of song and sound. Yeah. Highly recommended. That and stuff like Tonto's Expanding Headband, which I'm sure you know about. Yeah, no. Yeah. But tell me about. I'm fascinated about the jazz influence in what you do. So tell me where that came from and how that evolved.
And I haven't been able to help but have a jazziness in my voice in a way. It was sort of when I was a teenager. That's why I wouldn't consider even singing at all, because I was into Sonic Youth and Big Black Surfers, horrible music, with really cool girls like talking like that on there. And I have a lovely voice, you know what I mean?
You have a lovely voice. You got a beautiful voice.
I was a bit embarrassed about it, It was a bit like, but obviously this thing is deeply ingrained in me because I went out every Sunday of every summer, at least, all day dancing to jazz when I was a child. My uncle was a incredible jazz musician, played everything, played trumpet, played guitar, played piano, and I could sit down and play Rachmaninoff, sit down and play any jazz. It's perfect. Ran all these different bands, and so one of the bands was he had a jazz trio, and he had a 5-piece jazz band. But brilliant, really well done. And they'd play all day, ice kites on a few Guinnesses or whatever, and I'd dance all day to it. I need you to be quiet, lads. So I danced. Yeah, then it took years. Years went by, and it's obviously still in there. That trait.
The thing is, you are. It's not. You make it sound like it's the most natural thing on earth, and it's quite a unique upbringing. Not many people have that upbringing, so you're exceptionally fortunate. And
I was very be around so much music and so much singing. People just singing morning, noon, and night. Man, they never stop singing. I stopped singing everywhere. He gets into the bath once a week. although when he's going for the bath, he always says, it's the end of the month, I may go and have the bath, So he fills it up to the very top, scalding hot water, goes in, 2 bottles of wine,
Shit.
2 hours in the bath, 2 hours. He takes the underpants off, sticks them in the overflow so that he takes water. Windows open and does all the in-between bits as well, talking as if he's on stage like Frank Sinatra.
Oh, great.
Voice, you know.
Oh, my God.
Strangers in the night. So there's the
old bathroom reverb. Yeah.
Oh, he thrown it up. But everyone was singing. Me aunties, me uncles, me old aunties, me young aunties, everybody had some song, 2 songs, 10 songs, 100 songs that they knew from start to finish. Sing on completely unaccompanied. You didn't need a musician there to accompany. People just sang anyway. I'd grown up in a music.
Oh, you lucky person. That's an amazing thing. Amazing.
So without any kind of thinking about it, it's there. This song thing is there. The song thing. The thing about the songs were taken out of context, totally out of context in my childhood, and then they attached themselves to the people who would sing them. And they were their songs. They weren't Frank Sinatra songs or anything. There's an awful sound here, sorry.
I shall fill in while we're doing this. I think she's going to give him a telling off. And that's okay. I quite like a bit of atmosphere on these things. So we'll keep recording. And
this house is like a big old barn.
Right.
There's no sound insulation whatsoever. So it's like they're in the room with you.
When I was interviewing Richard Hawley, the first one I ever did, it was in a working men's club in Sheffield. Do you know Richard? Yeah.
I do.
And he's got a dog, and his dog kept coming in and barking.
Oh dear.
The phone kept going in this working men's club where it's at the bottom of his garden, actually. And
what kind of dog is it? Oh, it's a sheepdog.
No, it's a Labrador. Labrador, something like that. Anyway, it might be sheepdog. I can't remember. It's so long ago. Anyway, it was funny, and you know what? The people who listened to the podcast said, "Oh, my favourite bits were the dog coming in."
Oh, barking, yeah.
I thought, thanks a lot. Obviously, I need to improve my interviewing technique. I'm not quite up to Michael Parkinson's standard yet.
I know Richard. I've known him since I was in Sheffield right at the beginning, and I seen him in Paris a few years ago, and he says to me, frightened the life out of me, actually. He just come up with really goes, "You see that darkness in you, Roisin? I can see it." Something like that to me, and I was like, I wasn't in a good way, actually, that time. He was right. He spotted it straight away.
He's amazingly popular. That's until recently, until he did Vince Clarke, he was just ridiculously popular. He was the most. That was the one that got the most listeners for all the podcasts, which is interesting. He's quite an obscure kind of character. Sorry,
it's the voice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wasn't it miraculous? Because I knew him as a guitarist over the years. I had no idea the voice was hiding there. And then this voice of the ages.
I know, incredible. He's like Glenn Campbell is the same, isn't it? He was known as a session guitarist, and then he thought, I'll just sing a few songs. And it's like, sorry.
Oh, really? I didn't know that about Glenn Campbell.
Yeah. He played with Elvis and everybody. Yeah. Anyway, and then of course I was talking to Richard, and he was talking about we were talking about Scott Walker and the influence of that on him. And he said, "Oh yeah, I was mates with Scott Walker. Well, I just threw that one in, right?" He said, "I was one of the only 5 people at his funeral, And I'm going, "What?" Yeah. Anyway, moving on. So I've got some funny stuff now. I was looking at you doing one of your videos in a particularly interesting outfit, and I had this sudden thought that there's a kind of warrior queen thing about you. Like Gina did. Yeah, no, not a banshee, no. I don't know. It might be a good thing. I don't know. But there's just a kind of warrior. There's a kind of, I don't know, a kind of edginess, but it's not. It's not antsiness. It's a kind of bravery and kind of warrior characteristic that you have. And and then when I went back and looked at your other videos, it's like kind of permeates through everything. I don't know if you've ever been conscious of this kind of the way that you come across so strong.
I get this a lot. Yeah. Oh, you're so confident. You're so strong. I don't know. I don't know if I really am, but
well, you certainly give that impression.
I think I am actually quite a warrior.
Have you thought?
I mean, as I'm going back to that decision that I made at 15 to stay in Manchester, then everything comes from that. Everything comes from that same strength, that same little girl that was able to go, no, actually, I'm making a life here. I know where I don't know where this is leading, but I know where it's going. And that little girl must have been very, very strong.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So then there's all these other ones. The one that really cares about the art is insecure as hell.
Ah, right, yeah. But that's the curse of the artist. If you're ever fully happy with something, you're probably not an artist, is my view. Because you can always see the imperfections. You can always see, because you've always got a kind of pull through of where you want to get to, but you're not quite sure how you're going to get there. And you rarely get there. I mean, very rarely. I can honestly say in my career, there's been maybe 3 times that I've achieved exactly what I wanted to achieve. The rest of it is, I don't regret the imperfections.
What about it? What about times when it comes back round? You're glad you didn't make a perfect.
Yes.
I mean, just if you're not afraid of fail, if you're not thinking you might fail. This was said to me by a friend of mine who's a playwright. If you don't think you might, if you think you might not fail, then you're probably not doing a good job.
Have you ever considered acting?
Yeah, I've considered it.
I think
I'd like to play Dusty Springfield. That's what I'd like to play. Just putting that out there every chance I get, lads.
Wow. That's a good idea.
It is.
I think I might have read somewhere that they are making a biopic of Dusty's life. And I interviewed Sandy Shaw, who was a good friend of hers.
Yes.
And she's got some amazing stories about Springfield. She was wild. I mean, properly out there, wild. She was
wild,
sexually wild, and genius. Yeah,
perfectionist.
Brilliant. I mean, I've listened to just about every single recording she ever made. I think I'm such a fan. Okay,
but I could have invented that voice. You know, nobody but her could have invented her. That has to be a self-invented voice. Also, you know, going back to what we said about Richard, you know, this is not something that could be coaxed out of him by a producer or, you know,
no, it's murdered.
Full of perfection, also in what she did, staying into the studio till 6 o'clock in the morning. That deep insecurity that she wasn't as good as she wanted to be.
And her leg.
That's production. That is production. Doing that when everybody else has gone home.
Yeah, that's true. It's a bit like,
and it's creating an iconic voice from scratch, from nothing, from Manchester, from working class Irish Manchester background. Was nowhere to be, I'll tell you, in the 50s and 60s. And what did she create? The most sophisticated voice, one of the most sophisticated voices of all time. Incredible.
She makes me cry. Well, it's certain ones of her tracks. It just thrills you, you know, to the core, doesn't it? Her voice, it's just incredible.
There's so much that era that I love, you know, from the sort of mid-century era female singers. I mean, I love the Italian ones. I love Mina. For me, she's like the goddess of them all. There's so much there, like that you stare at it and you think, we couldn't do that. We couldn't make that TV performance.
Mm.
We don't have the specialists, the equipment, the space, the money, the wherewithal, the want, the desire to create something as sublime, say, as one of those amazing Italian TV performances where the camera sweeps in like a Fellini back of this, and then there's an orchestra, and then there's all these incredible modernist set that's been built, and then there's this unbelievable music that you couldn't write now, that you couldn't put the musicians together to play now. And it's the same feeling like when you look at the Duomo in Milan, and you think, couldn't build it.
No.
Very sort of, we don't like to think that, because it goes against the idea of evolution, or that we're evolving.
Wow.
But there are things that are being lost in culture that will never be.
I think we're moving backwards. That's the truth of the matter. And I interviewed Jerry Casale from Devo. Of course, his big thing is de-evolution. And it's come to pass. They are like Nostradamus, we are devolving. I keep thinking, occasionally see a photo of Concorde and going, did I imagine that? Or were we in the future once? We did land on the moon, didn't we?
Were we in the future once?
Yeah.
It's a good start.
Good start, isn't it? Yeah. Good start.
Get a beat going there, Martin, as soon as you're in the studio. Come on.
Go on, I'll knock something up, love. It'll be all right. Do you know what? Just on another point, I do this this project called British Electric Foundation, which is like singers singing unexpected versions of old songs, basically. And if I ever do another one, I'd love you to come on it and do what you should do, a Dusty Springfield song. Oh my God, that'd be amazing. We're doing an electronic soundscape version of a Dusty Springfield song. Okay, the fun bit. We're nearly there. I mean, I start off with the intention of really doing this in a structured way, but I think it's more fun going off piste, isn't it? Personally, yeah. So I do this kind of smash hits thing at the end of every one, where I ask people all the same questions, and at some point, I'll
guys, it's like you're in the room with us.
This will be the favourite bit of every.
Usually it's much worse than that. Antichrist.
So you're being polite this morning, right? I get it.
I'll just go to my own childhood there.
Yeah.
Called an antichrist early, and then figuring out years later what an antichrist actually was, and thinking to myself, "The man's been calling me an antichrist."
Terrible thing to say.
The antichrist. And then you're all much darker than we thought.
Anyway, right. So it's a list of what favourite things, right? So, what's your favourite artist, visual or conceptual?
One moment, please. People! I'm not finished. Favorite artist. I couldn't pick a favorite artist. I could tell you that Cindy Sherman was very important to me. Seeing her work when I was 14 on The Late Show on the BBC Two. Do you remember that? And then sort of looking into it and getting a book, and I think got a film stills book. It was when that came out, and just marveling at this, kind of feeling free looking at it, kind of feeling a sense of connection, like I'm an exhibitionist too, and I was already as a child running around dressed up trying to freak people out, and I would walk down the street in Manchester with her, like my mother's, she was antique dealer, so she had a Victorian pram. Saw that one day and I was like, okay, I'm going to dress up as a Victorian ghost, walk around Stockport with this pram.
Well, the Stockport Yerk, yeah.
Yeah. Except, thanks. Yeah. There are people who say that about me. But I take it on the chin. But yeah, I really responded to it. I just thought, Jesus, like all these things that kind of like there's a dissonance, again, there's like, being a woman and being a feminist and being all these things are supposed to be kind of bondage that she's playing with in a way, aren't they? These archetypes, these sexual archetypes, these maternal archetypes, these psychological lunatics, these, there's pictures where she looks like she's going to kill people, but she's got like amazing brand knickers on and looks like a film. And stuff like that. Freedom of it. There's a rush of freedom from a young girl's perspective at that point.
Yeah.
Where it seemed a bit like feminism was a bit greyish, brownish, greenish,
Point.
And that didn't resonate with me. So then to see this artist to be so in control of everything as well, she takes the photograph, she did the styling, she concepted it, she lighted it, everything her. So there's no question, a bit like that. So I don't mind the content of my work in a similar way. I take no heed and I take no mind. I want to put whatever content I want into my work because I know I'm doing it all. So it's all significant somehow.
Do you see everything that you do as a kind of, I'm sorry, I'm doing this with, everything that you do as an integrated, I tend to feel this about Heaven 17, like it's some kind of integrated artwork, the whole thing. I mean, it's like one giant kind of installation, but it's just spread over time. That's what I see.
Kind of. I mean, it's funny because I think the music's separate. And I think the music's like the seed, like the very most important part in what I've done so far. And I would like to, because I've done a bit of directing myself and I directed a pop video for Fat Whites and stuff. But I would like to direct actors and I would like to put cameras right up on amazing faces and see the magic happen and not be in front of the camera even, and it not necessarily either be about music. I'd love to have a play around with that. In fact, it's a big ambition of mine. But going back to what my work signifies, what it's really about, has always been, if the music's right, then I can enjoy myself throwing imagery at it.
Right. Right. I get it.
And I can really let loose who I am as long as I get that right. So I'm very much the boss of Roisin Murphy PLC, if you like. The whole thing. I'm the boss lady, but not in the studio.
No.
Like your little brother in the studio. I go in, I'm like, Anya, we work together.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Sit watching. You know what I mean? What we do, the vibes that we've got.
Us versus the world, yeah.
I tried to be a little vibes man, when I go in.
Yeah.
That's how I. And I step back a few gears off me ego. I've decided to work, say, with this maverick producer because I've got this desire to do it. I mean, I've had this burning desire, say, to work with Maurice Fulton, like I did a few years ago. Or it's an incredible, really when it comes down to it, it's an incredible rarity and privilege for DJ Coase to be producing my album, my Roisin Murphy album next. These are incredible things that are happening to me. The most amazing things are these people are coming in with this music, which is the seed to everything. My life is easy after the music is right. And so I have no feeling ever that I did the wrong music either, because I believe in who I work with so much when I go in to work with them. And that's why I don't work with everyone who asks me, because I have to feel 100% to bend for them and to learn off them.
Yeah. I mean, I've worked with, as you know, lots and lots of different female singers in particular. And the real trick as a producer, well, a producer's different term back then. It was like a producer and a director of a film and the arranger and everything, now. Anybody's a producer who switches a laptop on, but it's all about getting the best performance out of the singer, and getting inside their head and becoming their insulation against the outside world. For instance, I never allowed ever, and I worked for all the big record labels producing. One of the conditions I put was there was never allowed to be an A&R man in the studio when we were working, ever. They were never allowed to have any input. They could listen to it when it's finished and make some notes, but that's it.
We never had a problem with that either.
Yeah, no, I think you've got to make your intentions clear from the outset. That's the right thing.
Well, I suppose, yeah. I mean, I worked with an A&R man quite closely on the EMI project that they did on Overpowered, where I worked with loads and loads of different producers, and that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
But he was my mate, yeah. And he let me do whatever I wanted.
There you go.
And whoever I wanted to work with, if it was possible, he'd pluck it out of thin air for me. And
right.
And he gave him all this. There was a Bible of several massive playlist for people that I had made. So there was a real focus in that record of what it was I was going to try to achieve. Sometimes, like when I'm working with Cozy, it's harder to have that focus because it's a much more experimental process.
Yeah.
And it's a completely sharpened modern process.
Mm-hmm.
And he has modern preoccupations about hooks and stuff that aren't necessarily a natural song structure or whatever. But in the case of this, we knew exactly what we wanted to do. A bit like with Roisin Machine. That is actually how Parrot works.
Yeah.
Next is when he has sharpened focus, like that would be right for this and that would be wrong for this. And so it's very easy to make these decisions.
Okay.
Yeah. All sorts of different ways, but usually I have to do what I'm told.
Yeah. I don't believe that. What's your favourite book?
Favourite book? I like J.G. Ballard. I'm reading a lot of J.G. Ballard. I'm reading this at the let me show you. Which is ace. Complete compendium of short stories.
Guess what? I've got that. Yeah. And in fact, I'm listening to it as an audiobook at the moment. Do you know what I do? Here's a tip for you. I don't know if you'd ever do this, but I do, because I find it hard to sleep sometimes. So I have a little speaker under the pillow, which is, it's quiet enough just to be in the background. And I listen to those stories and let them infiltrate my dreams, which is perfect because a lot of them, it doesn't matter if you miss some of the plot because they're so abstract, a lot of them. I love J.G. Ballard. Yeah, beautiful.
Who's reading this?
I can't remember.
Reading this?
It's on Audible. You can look it up. I'll send you a link. I'll send you a link after this.
With us both being glam rockers, it's hardly a surprise we're both into J.G. Ballard, is it?
Yeah, we actually wrote a song with the Hume League called 4JG, which was after Rock's Music did 2HB, didn't they, to Humphrey Bogart? So we did 4HB. Yeah, 4JG.
Yeah. Well, talk about predicting the future.
Yeah, really. You got it pretty much right. He did. High Ride is a great book, by the way. Yeah.
Arbeith is very Ballard-esque at the moment.
Really?
As you can imagine this place in lockdown with a pandemic, with a sort of magical place, but with this sort of fizzing thing in the background, a little bit like the police were a bit heavier here also. So there's this kind of dissonance between the kind of living the life and then there's this other thing that we're hiding from.
Yeah.
So
I've been frightened to read the Atrocity exhibition while I've been in lockdown because I read that regularly from time to time. Such a great book, and but I thought, God, it's all feeling a bit too. Feels like we're living in a nightmare some of the time. Anyway, right. Favorite film?
Night of the Hunter.
That is a great film. That is a really great film. Yeah,
That's the only one I couldn't live without.
Yeah.
Singing Night of the Hunter.
Epiphanal. Right, I ask everybody this question. So, a moment in your life which really kind of changed your life forever. So, an epiphanal moment.
Meeting Mark Bryden in the cellar.
Oh,
Seeing it. It was love at first sight, anyway.
oh. Do you like my tight sweater?
Oh, and I went up to him. And you know what a miracle little thing happened there. It was just incredible. He wanted me to record me saying, "Do you like my tight sweater?"
That's a classic casting couch quote, actually.
It was. But can you imagine? I mean, he was already fit, and then he took me into the control room of Fawn Studios, which was based on the Starship Enterprise. It is me big equipment, love. You know. And
Could the slide of my desk. Yeah.
Put your finger on that slide. Don't be too rough on it.
Find the faders, love.
Stop messing with them faders like that, silly.
Oh, cost me a fortune to clean that. Favorite synth. There you go. This is a good one.
Don't know.
Oh, don't you get involved in the music at all? I mean, the instrumentation?
I do. I get involved on a broader basis.
Oh, right.
Like, you don't want to do that. You want to do this.
Oh, right.
But
okay.
no, I don't.
Okay. We're getting close to the end now. Other musical artist or composer?
Too many to mention, whatever, but I always say Grace Jones, innit? Seeing Grace Jones just play a one-woman show, more or less. I think there was just another musician. Lights, steps, a wind machine, and
the hula hoop.
And the hula hoop. God, no, she did do the hula hoop that night. Anyway, it was just this very simple show, a little small show she did, but it was in a beautiful place in Firenze, Florence. I was on holiday, and it was mind-blowing, and it changed everything for me. It made things click into place, like, what am I trying to do here, because I was always an exhibitionist, as I said, and the first Moloko gigs we ever did, I used to come out on the stage with a dog lead around my neck and a bone in my mouth, and I get into a basket and start singing from there. So I was already working props, right from the start.
Yeah, that's pretty
He shows you how to use very simple props in a very dramatic way.
Yeah, she's good at that.
And to make you more statuesque and to make you more expressive. It's just, she blew me mind.
I mean, because she came from, a million photo shoots where her big thing was, what was her French dude?
I don't know. She came from Mars. I think she might have came from Mars.
But I mean, everything had to be dramatic. She was known for that kind of everything has to be weird thing. She wasn't doing, kind of...
One thing that she wore has dated. It's a miracle.
Yeah.
You will not find one image picture on the internet where you don't look at her and think,
yeah,
that outfit. There's not one. Yeah. Every single thing is fresh today, and the music's the same. The music's the same. The point stuff. There is just thing that's never been as sublime.
I mean, I'm going to try and get her on the podcast, to be honest, because I share her birthday, actually. I'm Taurian. And finally, what's your favourite of your own songs?
I think I wrote some magnificent songs with Eddie Stevens on Hairless Toys,
right?
Especially in terms of songs. The whole thing is kind of miraculous on that level. He's a real musician, so also an incredible producer. But I could do a mixture between get a beat going, write a tune in blocks. Or we could have a couple of pints, come back, and he could sit in front of the keyboard, and we could make it up as we go along.
Wow.
And there were there's such intimacy between me and him because he's my musical director live all these years. So there was nothing to get through there in terms of intimacy. We'd maybe have a little listen to Derek and Clive before we started, just to break up shackles, get ready, and then off we pop. So some amazing songs on that record. Gone Fishing was the first one we put out, which is I just watched Paris is Burning, and I wrote that song about how that touched me, how that movie touched me, how I felt about it, and it's a very nice song.
I think, wow, this is one of my favourite interviews that I've done. Definitely, I think you're such an interesting. I've just realised that we've gone over time, and I apologise, but I love that
the most interesting interview I've ever done. But I have to stop now, Roisin.
No, only because John Fox is coming at 11:30. So yeah,
I'll be
he's an old friend of mine. He's a lovely, lovely guy. Anyway, one final quote. Somebody called you sensuous and ominous, which I think is a great combination.
Oh, did they? That's good.
It's good, isn't it?
Sensuous and ominous. There's a lot of fellas that would agree with that, but
no. Once you got them on the hook, that's when you go in there.
It's quite often I don't get them on the hook.
Don't be so
very, very, very many times I fall in love and I don't get my way.
Really? I find that hard to believe, but
because I'm ominous as well as sensual.
You get them the wrong way around. I think that's a great point.
Yeah, I really am ominous. That's the truth.
No, you're not. You're absolute. You're a diamond, and I can't wait until we're in a world where we can actually meet in the flesh. And I can't wait. I just want a special shout out for your Murphy's Law video that you did in one of the in your house. It was when you fell over. Just made me laugh so much. He just went, "I'm all right."
That's again everybody's favourite. It's where you fall over. Dog bark again.
I can't. I just thought it was the most engaging human thing. Your instant reaction wasn't, "Oh my God, I'm going to look shit." Well, it was, "Oh, I'm sorry." No, I'm all right. Don't worry about me. Carry on. Brilliant.
Story of my life, that love story of my life.
What a delight it's been. Thank you so much. And I'll let you know as soon as it's coming out. I'm gonna make sure it comes out pretty soon because people need to hear this shit. Right.
Oh,
and
thanks.
If you ever need a producer, you know where to come. I've sold a few records.
I do. I know you have. I've looked it up.
We could dress you right, Tina, and you'll be fine.
I know. She just needs the right song, man. I need my arse kicking.
All right. Have a beautiful day. I'll see you.
Love you. Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.